Legal permanent residents trying to maintain their legal status or those moving toward naturalization need to be aware of 3 new changes by immigration. And if you stick around for just a couple minutes, I'm going to tell you exactly what those changes are and how they impact your future. Hello everyone, I'm attorney Lee Marvin, and I have been practicing law for over 20 years with an emphasis on immigration law for the last 12 years. My main office is in Grand Rapids, Michigan, but I help individuals and families from any state in the country and really any country on the planet. Last week, I did part 1 to this video talking about the new changes that USCIS made based on the policy memo that was released August 15th of this year, 2025. The memo expanded the authority of immigration agents and also increased the importance of the good moral character standards that are used in lots of different parts of immigration, especially for naturalization. So this is part 2 of the video. After you watch this part 2, I want you to go back and watch part 1 so you get the whole scope of how these 5 changes impact you as a legal permanent resident, whether you're moving forward to naturalization or not, okay? So let's get started. The third change that was introduced by this new memo relates to speeding tickets. I know it sounds silly, they sound like a minor deal, but speeding tickets are now being used by immigration. On the applications, they're requiring that you disclose all tickets so that they can do an evaluation of whether you are at risk or whether you are violating rules that allow you to stay here in the United States, okay? They look at all of these tickets, they look at all these different problems that you've had, because when you have multiple tickets, even speeding, it indicates to immigration that you have a disregard for the well-being of others. Well, that's not good. They want to make sure that you are not disregarding people around you, people in society in the United States, and they want to stamp out people that do these sorts of things, okay? They can't do anything to U.S. citizens, obviously, but if you're a legal permanent resident, they do have the authority to prevent you from moving forward or granting you citizenship if they think that you're going to harm others. This is a very new take on minor traffic violations, but that's the way it is. The good thing is for legal permanent residents, speeding tickets don't impact your ability to renew your green card or maintain your status as long as you're in the United States. But if you travel internationally, you leave and you return. When you return, the customs can use that against you, and it usually will trigger a secondary inspection. Even if they don't deny your entry, it's going to make things uncomfortable for you when you travel internationally. This is especially true if there are arrests that go with those speeding tickets. Sometimes speeding tickets are only part of it. There's also tickets or arrests for reckless driving. Later on, failure to appear in court, failure to pay your court costs, your fees, things like that. If you have those additional problems on top of the speeding tickets, that definitely is something that a secondary inspection will be triggered for, and it will be a lot more difficult to move forward. Again, for naturalization applicants, this might not stop you from getting naturalization, but it will make it much more difficult for you to convince the government that you are a moral person and deserve naturalization, right? You're at the point in time where you're begging them to allow you to change your status to a naturalized citizen, and they're going to use that, and they're going to review everything to make sure that they think that you meet the requirements. So it's a lot more difficult to do that with this new policy change. The next policy change that you need to be aware of relates to taxes. Not paying or filing federal income taxes or following payment plans that the IRS has set up for you from the past is a big indicator to immigration to determine that you don't belong in the United States or you don't deserve to be naturalized. They're using this past history. This is not just for people with past problems not paying taxes or filing. But if you've had other problems with the IRS, that also could trigger them contacting people in immigration and reporting you, so that when you do leave the country and return, it triggers a secondary inspection and possibly a determination of inadmissibility, which I talked about in video 1. Inadmissibility for you to enter the United States, and there's consequences to that. So be very careful. My recommendation is, if you have these sorts of problems, maybe you should reconsider traveling and don't do it for a while, okay? And that is especially true with the next change. This is change number 5, and probably the biggest risk to immigrants and those seeking naturalization of any of the 5 that I mentioned. And that's driving under the influence, drunk driving convictions. These are deal breakers for lots of immigrants. One DUI is really bad, but multiple, that is the deal killer for lots of people. It never used to be that way, but it is becoming that serious right now. The new position from Immigration for Legal Permanent Residents is that it makes anyone leaving the United States and coming back as a legal permanent resident inadmissible when they try to re-enter, and that will require some sort of additional process, some additional legal solving of problems to get that inadmissibility removed or ignored or waived. This is definitely a big deal. It could get you detained when you return to the United States if you have multiple DUIs as a legal permanent resident. The proposal is for the government to convert this from a policy memo, current standing orders of how they look at things, to a permanent part of immigration law. We don't know if that's going to happen, but for now, it's a big enough problem because for the next remaining 4 years of this administration, this is the rule, this is the law. So be very careful. My recommendation, if you have multiple DUIs, do not travel internationally. It's just don't do it. I know it's inconvenient, but so is a deportation, okay? If you're going to do it, know that this could happen, right? And you make an educated guess, or you take the risk, not out of ignorance, but knowing that something may happen. So that's my advice to you. Naturalization applicants, 2 or more DUIs can be a significant barrier to actually getting naturalized because the government automatically says that you're not a good person. You do not meet the standards for good moral character. And you can refute that or argue that and try to disprove that, but it's going to be a lot more difficult than it ever has been. This policy update is not the only change to immigration law since President Trump took office. There's lots of other types of policies that are having an impact on current immigration, future processes. The point is, seek assistance from an experienced immigration attorney. Don't do things yourself. Do-it-yourselfers. Beware, because these issues are not necessarily part of AI assistance. You need somebody who actually analyzes it and knows how to overcome these issues. So don't file yourself because it seems like an easy thing to do. It's just an application. Seek experienced immigration assistance. Don't risk it. Deportation, years outside the United States, when you have family, work, things here, your life is here, don't risk it. That is my recommendation to you. Please subscribe to the channel, like the video so that you get notified of future videos that help you maintain and save your status and protect yourself and your family. Because remember, if you stay informed, you can stay safe.